At exactly 11:47 a.m., inside a quiet, dusty auto shop on the edge of town, a fire-red Ferrari SF9 Strato rode in, its front grille shattered, engine smoking, and a chauffeur panicking behind the wheel. When the town's seasoned mechanics shook their heads and backed away, a 22-year-old girl in oil-streaked jeans and a ponytail stepped forward. "Let me try," she said. Everyone laughed until the hood came up, her hands dove in, and by sunset, the billionaire CEO who owned the car was standing there, stunned. What he did next left the entire town speechless. Let's begin. The midday. Sun was harsh over Dalton County. Dust danced across the pavement as customers sipped lukewarm coffee and waited at Ray's Auto, the kind of roadside garage where work shirts bore grease like armor and conversations were more about loyalty than price tags. Nobody expected anything unusual that morning. But when that Ferrari screeched into the lot, smoke hissing from under the hood, its sleek red paint catching every eye, felt like time slammed to a halt. All eyes turned as the driver stepped out, panicked. He was wearing an all-black suit and dark glasses, and he held the door open for someone still inside. Then the man emerged, tall, stern, dressed in a perfectly tailored gray suit and an expression that screamed power. Owen Locke, CEO of Locke Dynamics. Billionaire, ruthless, widowed. Rumors swirled around him like dust in sunlight. People called him cold, untouchable, someone whose world revolved around deals and digits, not people. And now he stood there, in the middle of a humble garage in a forgotten town, next to a broken Ferrari that no one dared touch. Ray, the owner, whistled low. That thing's toast. Engines flooded, radiators blown. No one in this town can. I'll take a look, came a calm voice from the back. They turned, covered in engine grime. Wearing a tattered Ray's Auto jumpsuit was a young woman barely out of college age. Dark hair tied in a messy ponytail, confident stride. Her name tag read, Harper. Ray sighed. Kid, this ain't the time for. But Owen was already looking at her, hard, studying her face like it was a blueprint. You work here? He asked, voice like glass. Double quotes. Yes, sir, she said, wiping her hands. Name's Harper. I fix things. The silence that followed was almost disrespectful. A few guys chuckled. Someone even muttered, Daddy's little assistant. But Harper didn't flinch. She walked over to the Ferrari, circled it, then bent to peer under the chassis. You hit a divider, she murmured. Looks like someone forgot the ceramic brakes on Invincible. She popped the hood with precision, fingers moving like she knew the car's soul. Turbo system shot, and, oh wow, ECU's glitch. That's custom wiring. She looked up, face serious. This was hand-modified. This isn't factory error. Someone's been messing under the hood. Owen's eyes narrowed. Harper stood. I can fix it, if you let me. Ray started to protest. She's young, Mr. Locke. I'd let my senior guys. But Owen raised a hand. She gets 1 hour. Touch anything unnecessary, and you're done. Fix it, and I pay what it's worth. She nodded, tied her sleeves back, and got to work. It was chaos after that. People whispered, watched. Phones came out. She ignored them all. Her movements were clinical wiring here, coolant reroute there, a full override on the fried ECU. Sweat mixed with engine oil on her brow, her hands moving like she was rewriting the heartbeat of a machine. Exactly 58 minutes later, the Ferrari roared to life. Silence. Then applause. Owen didn't clap. He just stared. Then he asked, Where'd you learn that? Harper shrugged. My dad taught me. He was your head technician before your company fired him after his stroke. We've been here ever since. Something flickered in Owen's eyes. A crack in the armor, but he only said, How much do I owe? Before she could answer, Ray stepped in. Sir, No, Owen cut in cold. I'm not paying the garage. I'm paying her. He pulled out a sleek card. This is my personal assistant's number. You call her. Name your price." Then he walked away. As the Ferrari rolled out of the lot, Harper stood frozen. Ray finally said, voice low, "What the hell just happened?" And Harper, still holding the wrench, whispered, "I think my life just changed." Asterisk, asterisk. It didn't take long for the whole town to know Dot by the next morning. Harper's phone was ringing off the hook. Reporters, gearheads, bloggers, even a car magazine offered her a feature if she just posed by the Ferrari again. She ignored them all. What she didn't ignore was the envelope that came by courier at exactly 9 a.m., hand-delivered, sealed with a wax emblem she recognized immediately. Locked Dynamics. Inside was a short note. "You'll receive a visitor at 2 p.m. If you're serious about fixing more than cars, be ready." Owen Harper stared at it for a long while. Then she placed it in the toolbox drawer and said nothing. Ray, however, couldn't. "You realize what this means?" he said, pacing the garage. "He's probably going to offer you a position in L.A. or New York. Heck, maybe even Italy. Do you know what kind of teams that man runs?" Harper just kept wiping down her socket set. "He fired my dad when he was sick. That's the kind of team he runs." Ray sighed. "Your dad didn't want anyone to know, but he wasn't just fired. He was erased. They scrubbed his name from the prototype logs. Every design he worked on, they made it seem like he'd never been there at all." Harper's jaw tightened. "Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because he didn't want you to be angry. He wanted you to stay kind." At exactly 2 p.m., a black Lincoln Navigator pulled up. A woman in a fitted blazer stepped out, poised, graceful, clipboard in hand. "Miss Harper Rayner?" she asked. "Yes. I'm Victoria Hart, Special Executive Liaison for Mr. Owen Locke. He's instructed me to personally deliver a proposal." She handed over a folder. Inside was a contract, confidential, multi-tiered. It wasn't just a job. It was an offer to head a private development lab, state-of-the-art, full autonomy. A salary that could buy the garage 10 times over. Harper flipped through it silently. On the last page, a note scribbled in Owen's unmistakable handwriting. "This isn't charity. I need someone who sees the heart of machines. You see it better than anyone I've met. If you accept, come to Locke HQ. 48 hours. No pressure. No strings." Victoria waited. "Would you like to respond now?" Harper closed the folder. "I'll think about it." Victoria looked surprised, but didn't argue. "Then I'll see myself out." That night, Harper sat at the dinner table across from her father, Mason Rayner. His hands trembled slightly, the aftershocks of the stroke never fully gone. But his eyes were sharp. "I heard," he said gently, "about the offer. Do you think I should take it?" "I think if you do, you do it your way. You don't owe that man anything. But maybe the world needs to see what you're made of." Harper looked down at her chip plate, then whispered, "They erased your name. They stole your work." Mason sighed. "And still, I'm proud of the girl who fixed his car and made him look twice. If that's not justice, I don't know what is." She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she walked into the garage at 3 a.m., turned on the overhead lamp, and laid the contract on the workbench. She stared at it until dawn, and then with trembling hands, she signed it. 4 days later, Locke Dynamics HQ, California. The building looked more like a museum than a workspace. Glass towers, vertical gardens, drones zipping silently between wings. Harper stepped out of the elevator and into the private research floor. Owen was waiting. Alone, no assistant, no cameras. Just him and a wide window that looked out over the city. "You came," he said without turning. "I didn't come for you," she replied. "I came for the engines." He smirked. "Fair." She walked to the center of the lab where a single car frame sat under velvet cloth. Owen peeled it off. Slowly. It was nothing she'd ever seen, sleek like liquid. Engine core hybridized beyond any model on the market. The kind of vehicle that wasn't just built, it was imagined. This was your father's design, Owen said quietly. Before he got sick, before the board wiped him off the ledgers. Harper's breath caught. I kept it, he said. They told me to scrap it. I refused. I didn't protect him the way I should have. I thought staying silent was safer. Silence isn't safe, she whispered. It's just easy, Owen nodded. I know that now, which is why I want you to bring this design to life, under your name. Your terms. The world will know who built it this time. Harper stepped forward and laid her hand on the hood. It was cold, but it throbbed with potential. Something flickered behind her eyes. Fire. Purpose. She turned to Owen. You want kindness to fix what your cruelty broke. I want truth, he said. And I think you're the only one left who still believes in it. 2 weeks into the project, Harper had transformed the research floor into her personal battlefield. Blueprints covered the walls. Engine schematics sprawled across tables. Half-built prototypes shimmered under soft overhead lights. She barely slept. She didn't care. Something inside her had woken up, something sharp, focused, and unafraid. But while the project gained momentum, whispers began surfacing too. Whispers about why she was chosen. Whispers about favoritism. Whispers Owen heard, but didn't stop. One afternoon, Victoria, the assistant who brought Harper the original offer, pulled her aside. Be careful, she said. They're not all happy you're here. Some think you're just a PR stunt redemption wrapped in a pretty face. Harper didn't blink. Let them think what they want. They'll see the engine run soon enough. But the whispers grew louder. After a meeting with the board, Harper stood at the front of a glass-walled conference room, presenting the engine revamp she had named Project Pulse. It was sleeker, cleaner, and based entirely on the old designs her father once crafted. One board member scoffed mid-presentation. How do we know your modifications won't blow the cooling system at 220 miles per hour? Harper calmly replied, because I tested it. Twice. At 227. They didn't applaud. But they didn't object either. Still, that night, someone keyed her nameplate. Outside the lab door. Just one word scratched deep into the metal. Imposter. Harper didn't tell Owen. She didn't need his protection. Instead, she went home that night to the small apartment Lock Dynamics gave her and called her dad. Is it worth it? She asked. Mason's voice was gentle. Are you building something that matters? Yes. Then it's always worth it. A few days later, Harper was working late when she noticed something odd in the archived data logs, buried inside the engine test results from 6 years ago, right before her dad was fired, was a signature, a data tag, not hers, not Owen's, not Mason's. It was a planet error code. Deliberate. Someone had sabotaged the original test results, making it look like her father's designs were dangerous. Harper's hands trembled as she traced it back. The tag linked to someone still active in the company. Franklin Rowe, head of R&D, one of the men on the board who called her a stunt. She printed the logs, highlighted everything, and placed them on Owen's desk before dawn. By morning, all hell broke loose. Asterisk. By 8 a.m., Lock Dynamics buzzed like a kick beehive. Emails flew. Phones rang nonstop. Board members met in hushed, closed-door gatherings. Harper walked through the chaos with calm in her stride. Eyes forward, the truth in her hands. At 10 o'clock sharp, Owen called an emergency board meeting. Everyone. Was there Franklin Rowe included? You sat cool, calm, smug in his pressed gray suit. Harper stepped to the front of the room and placed a slim folder on the polished table. You all accused my father of creating a dangerous system. But that failure was manufactured. She pulled out printed logs. These are original diagnostic files, unedited, dated before the incident. But someone tampered with the post-run? Data planning false codes. Here's the tag that confirms the source. She slid it across the table. Right in front of Franklin. Owen remained silent, eyes locked on him. Franklin's smile twitched. You're accusing me of framing your father? Be careful, girl. You're out of your depth. Harper met his stare head-on. Maybe, but engines don't lie. And neither do system logs. He leaned back in his chair. This is nothing but a setup. You probably wrote those yourself. I didn't, Owen said quietly, standing. Because I pulled the same logs from the locked archives this morning. They match hers. Exactly. The room fell deathly silent. Franklin's jaw clenched. Even if that's true, there's no proof I did anything malicious. You erased. A man's legacy, Owen cut in. His voice was quiet but razor sharp. And for what? Your ego? Control? Or was it the bonus tied to killing his project? Franklin stood abruptly. This is absurd. I built this company's R&D department. No, Harper said. You poisoned it. Security entered seconds later. Owen didn't need to say a word. He just gave a slight nod. Franklin's face flushed deep red as he was escorted out in silence. No shouting. No resistance. Just the end of a chapter long overdue. That night, Harper stood in the darkened lab, alone. Her hands moved across the smooth hood of the car. She'd spent weeks reviving. Owen stepped in quietly. You didn't just fix the car. You fixed the lie. She didn't look at him. I wasn't trying to. I just followed the noise. He nodded. Your father would have been proud. He is. Then she looked at him, really looked. Why didn't you stop Franklin when it happened? You were the CEO then, too. Owen exhaled. Because I was scared. Of the board. Of the stock drop. I told myself silence was survival, but you reminded me. Survival isn't the same as living with yourself. Harper let the words sit in the air. Then she asked, why me? You were never supposed to fix just a car. You were meant to fix the direction we lost. The next morning, the world knew the truth. Lock Dynamics released a full press statement. Franklin's removal, Harper's new role, and her father's. Name reinstated in the patent archives. This time, publicly. But that wasn't what left people speechless. It was the moment Harper, wearing black overalls and grease-streaked sleeves, rolled out the prototype live during the press event. And when the engine roared to life, flawless, faster than anything they'd ever seen, she said just one thing. This is for the man who taught me that building something real never requires permission. Asterisk, asterisk. 2 months later, the engine Harper rebuilt was already being hailed as the next leap in performance engineering. Auto magazines called it Pulse-Tech, a revolution in hybrid precision, but Harper didn't care about the headlines. She didn't stay in luxury hotels or pose for cover stories. She went back to the one place that still mattered, Ray's Auto Shop. She pushed open the creaky garage door just as the sunset spilled over the cracked concrete floor. The familiar scent of grease, rubber, and oil wrapped around her like an old jacket. Ray looked up from under a beat-up old Chevy. Didn't expect to see you back here, he said with a grin. Figured you were eating gold leaf steaks in Paris by now. Harper laughed. Still preferred cheap burgers and a socket wrench. Your dad's inside. Mason Rayner was sitting in the corner office, flipping through a dog-eared notebook. When? Harper walked in. He smiled. Heard you're famous now. Hardly. Just busy. He looked her up and down, oil-stained jeans, worn boots, hair pulled back the same way since she was 14. You didn't change, he said. I hope. I never do. She sat across from him, then reached into her bag and slid a small, heavy box across the table. What's this? Open it. Inside was a brass plaque dotted red. Mason Rayner, original engineer N. Visionary of Pulse-Tech Drive, in honor of the man who saw the future before anyone else did. His fingers trembled. His eyes didn't blink. For a long moment, he couldn't. Speak, Doc, then, he whispered. I thought they buried me. They tried, Harper said softly. But you taught me engines speak the truth. I just help people listen. He pulled her into a shaky hug. You're my miracle, Harper. No, she whispered. You're mine. But kindness has a strange way of coming full circle. That same week, Harper was called to a charity garage on the city's outskirts. The place was underfunded, run down, but full of kids eager to learn about machines. The organizer greeted her with a warm handshake. "We didn't think you'd come. You're a celebrity now." "I was a mechanic's daughter first," she replied. "That never changes." One of the teenage girls walked up nervously, holding a busty carburetor. "Miss Harper, do you think this is even worth fixing?" Harper knelt down, took the part gently, and smiled. "Everything's worth fixing. You just have to believe it's possible." The girl's eyes lit up just like Harper's once. Had Dot, and in that moment, the legacy of her father, of that dusty garage, of the wrecked Ferrari, came full circle. On her way out, Harper stood by the parking lot, watching the sun dip behind the skyline. Owen's voice came from behind her. "We're opening a new innovation hub in Detroit. I want you to run it." She didn't turn. "Only, if we include programs for kids, scholarships, internships, hands-on learning, no more gatekeeping brilliance." He smiled. "You've got yourself a deal, Ms. Rayner." She finally turned, her eyes calm but blazing. "Then let's build something that lasts